independent in thought and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The excitement that is Kim Trump Bardu. Very excited. This is crazy. It is. I mean, over the next 2 days, 3 days, what we're going to get in the amount of, in a world where, let's be real, we have the attention span of a gnat. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. And we're that quick. Shiny thing, shiny thing. Look at that. Look at that. We are going to get so much news that we already know is coming. Now think about this. I bet you over the next 3 days, there will be something else added into all of this other news that we don't even know about. It is going to be nuts. You've got Kim and Trump Part 2, the summit, and exciting times indeed.
The summit itself is on Thursday, and it's going to look very similar to what we saw in Singapore last summer. They'll have a one-on-one meeting. They'll bring in their staff, probably have a working lunch, and then we could see the president do an extended press conference like he did last summer. But there's a big difference this time around, and I think this reflects what the president has said is this beautiful developing relationship he has with the North Korean leader.
Yeah, he's got a beautiful developing relationship. And I've always said this with Trump and Kim, for whatever reason, and this is where Trump, above all other presidents that we've had, he BS's, he's a salesman at time, he's P.T. Barnum, he does a lot of stuff where you're just, and he drives you crazy. There are other things that he does that other presidents just couldn't do. This is one of them. He's got no problem sitting down with somebody that other presidents refused to sit down with and kind of took as a pain in the ass, right? He has no problems with that. And it needs to be dealt with. In saying that, you can deal with it all you want, but Dan Coates said it best a few days ago when it comes to the why we're here, which is we're here for the nuclear question of you've got nuclear weapons. We don't want you to have nuclear weapons because we can't trust what you do.
We currently assess that North Korea will seek to retain its WMD capabilities and is unlikely to completely give up its nuclear weapons and production capabilities because its leaders ultimately view nuclear weapons as critical to regime survival.
Yeah, I wouldn't give them up either if I was him. It is the one thing that continues to keep you relevant in the world stage, is the one thing that keeps you from being attacked and or taken over, whether it be Beijing or whatever. It is the one thing that continues to keep you relevant in a world of, well, what would be considered to many others an irrelevant world that you would be living in outside of this. It is that one thing. It is. And I think the way that you go about disarming them, if you will, is you don't disarm them in the traditional sense of we're taking this away, here's what you're going to get for it. The way that you go about doing this is the way that you start to go about, you're starting to see in Cuba, which is you slowly but surely start to introduce the rest of the world to them and them to the rest of the world in a way that they've never been before. And it's going to take time because unlike a lot of other places on the globe that have seen capitalism and things like this and consumerism come in and slowly but surely dismantle regimes, the one thing that is completely different is they are more brainwashed than any other place on earth because they are that hermit country. They are so cut off from the reality of the rest of the world. Cubans always knew what lied here, right? They always knew what was here. It's not like that there. So it's a slow thing, but they're never giving up their nuclear weapons, ever, ever, ever. It's just what can we get from them that we feel and that the rest of the globe feels is like, okay, that's probably the best deal you're going to get outside of actually getting the weapons themselves.
They could turn over a complete list of their nuclear arsenal. They have not done that yet, and that would go a long way towards the transparency that the United States and international partners would like to see. Experts told us that would be a very big step, but they're not hopeful that Kim Jong-Un is bringing that with him to Vietnam. They could also say they will agree to a complete denuclearization on the United States terms. Again, that would be a very big concession.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I think you know that. I know that. Everybody else knows that. All of the while this is happening, later today it kicks off in earnest 3 days of Cohen.
Michael Cohen is about to begin 3 days of congressional appearances, beginning with a closed-door interview today with the Senate Intelligence Committee. But it's Wednesday's testimony, an open session that will have radios, TV sets, and computer browsers zeroed in on Capitol Hill. President Trump's ex-attorney will lay out details of what he's called Mr. Trump's history of lying, racism, and cheating over the course of Cohen's 10 years in his employment.
So, are we going to find out anything new? Probably not. Is it not the right time for this? Yeah, I don't think it is the right time. Doesn't mean that we don't want to hear this, and it should have happened earlier, and it could have happened as late as next week or the week after, because he's not going to jail now until May because of his shoulder surgery, and they've delayed that. So this could have happened another time, because what you're doing in a situation like this is you're also putting, here's our president who's over there talking to a despot and a dictator. You don't think they're going to be knowing everything that's going on there? You absolutely know that they're going to know everything that's going on there. And by they, I mean North Korea. And he's going to be bombarded by questions if he has a question and answer session, which he tends to do after a situation like this, where instead of probably fielding questions at times about North Korea, what'd you guys talk about? What do you think you can do in the future? Instead of that, what he's going to be fielding questions is, hey, Michael Cohen says you drop the N-bomb all the time. Michael Cohen says you had so many women running around. Michael Cohen says that you're worth $100 million, not $4 billion. That is not a good look. And that puts that, think about this on the American side, just as an American, when you weaken his position of power is not a good look. It isn't. And what are we really going to find out about? I don't know. The one thing is, people say, well, why do they want to do this? Well, two reasons they want to do this. First, and you don't find out anything in public. I think you know that as much as I. You're never going to find out any bombshell stuff in public. And the reason for that is why? Because if it's meant to be quiet, if it's meant to be behind closed doors, it's meant to stay there for a reason. What you're going to find is tomorrow isn't about Michael Cohen. It's about the people asking Michael Cohen the questions, because it's their opportunity to get their 15 minutes in.
What I intend to keep focused on is untangling the very complicated financial arrangements between Donald Trump and Russia.
Yeah, Ron Wyden right there is Democratic senator. Tough to listen to him. I know. I understand that. It's about the big thing is, and when I've talked to more and more people about Cohen and stuff and about Manafort, is everybody wants his tax returns, because somewhere down the line, whether it's in the late 80s, early 90s, in the 2000s, the mid 2000s, when there was a crash, somewhere along the line, money came to him from Saudi Arabia, from Russia. Somewhere somebody loaned him money. And because of that, it automatically makes him the Manchurian candidate that the Russians have, or even Saudi Arabia has over him, something that he has gotten to give to them because they helped him out in some way, shape, or form. As if in 89 or 94 or 2007, they thought this guy's going to be president one day, so we're going to hold something over him. That is the big thing. So you're going to follow that money.
My big interest has been in the follow the money issues.
Let's hear that one more time.
My big interest.
That's all we had to say there. That felt a little wrong. I know. Felt a little wrong on a Tuesday. It did. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from each and every one of you. Hope you had a phenomenal weekend. I was off yesterday, and I needed a little break and it was weird because normally, and this is funny, I tweeted out Sunday night because Jack and I, we had a huge family weekend. It was just one of those great weekends where we got to spend a lot of time together. And I tweeted out something about the Oscars, and the Oscars, once again, while the ratings were up, the reality is it's still tumbling down. And I got a lot of tack for people on the left who also weren't watching the Oscars, but because I said I wasn't watching the Oscars. Why don't you want to watch the Oscars? Well, first, I don't care because I've seen one or two of these movies, and that's one thing. Secondly, I got better things to do, right? You know, I got better things to do than to watch those things. And it's funny when I get attacked for saying that, and then I'll say I'm watching a football game, and the people on the right attack me because I've got better things to do because, you know, people take a knee, and it's just ridiculous. It really is. It is so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. I went to Jack had his Pinewood Derby on Sunday, and First, here's what I love. Okay, so Jack did his car himself. So he came in second to last or last in pretty much all of his races, and it seemed to take forever. There was like 36 races. It was well put together, the whole 9 yards. He came in second to last or last in every race. He did his car himself. The kids that won, there's no way they did any of the cars themselves. You could totally tell who did their car themselves and who had mom or dad or somebody not in their family build the car for these kids. I'm like, wow, this one's got flashing lights. It's just like Jack just had a basic car, and it's so funny to watch the competitiveness over something like that. Because when I was a kid, I did a Pine War Derby. We all had to carved our car, but we didn't do it. We had an adult do it, and we put it all together ourselves. Nowadays, it just seems like, wow, talk about over-competitiveness. Just insane. 323-538-2423, at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. My Pillows, I had some for my family, gave them out. They're like, oh my God, we need more of these. How do we get them? It's simple and easy. They are incredible. And when you get your My Pillow, because you're going to order one, because you got the best offer out there, and you got to do it fast, because the offer's not going to last. I just tell you, throw it in the dryer for 30 minutes. It's amazing. Just give it a little fluff. You're going to absolutely love it, love it, love it. 100% machine washable and dryable, made in the USA, 10-year warranty. You are going to sleep better, and that is better for your body. It's better for your mental health. It's better for your work and productivity. Here's the deal. 4 pillows, 2 premium pillows, 2 go-anywhere pillows, half the price, free shipping, money-back guarantee until March. You better hurry. Grab this. It is a no-brainer right now. 800-944-4975 or go to mypillow.com. Use the promo code Benson. It's mypillow.com, promo code Benson. 800-944-4975 or visit mypillow.com. Use the promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
There is no border emergency. That is a fabrication. The administration's own statistics show that crossings and apprehensions are at a historic low.
Oh, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. That is her right there. There's no emergency. I don't know if there is emergency. I don't think there is. In saying that, don't tell me you're not playing a political game when for years you said yes, 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 and then when Trump gets in there, it's no, 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 no. Talked to Congressman Schweikert earlier. He voted no as far as like this goes. We all understand what this is about, right? It is first and foremost Congress, as far as the Emergency Powers Act, as far as what they've done since the 70s. They have expanded the powers. So there's a lot of leeway in there for the president. I think we realize that. I do believe that if the president didn't feel he had the Supreme Court tipping in his direction, he wouldn't have done this. In saying that, do I think it's awful and horrible and we need to do this? No, I think there's so many other ways we can go about doing things. Doesn't mean we don't have an issue. Just because you say there's not an emergency doesn't mean there's not a problem. Does it rise to this is an emergency? Or, it's like if you break your arm, even if it's bad, you broke your arm. Do you need the ambulance? Doesn't mean you're not going to the doctors. Doesn't mean you may not go to the emergency room. You do have an issue. But you didn't lose your arm, which would have been a different issue. Still needs to be dealt with. Nobody's dealing with it. I think that's a huge issue right there. Steny Hour today doing what Steny does.
Constitutional scholar Lawrence Tribe said of the president on Thursday, he is simply trying to do what emperors and kings do, not what a president of the United States should do.
Long pause there. Should do. When I was talking to Congressman Schweikert, he just said, you know what? I would vote for them if they're going to say that the guy before him also did things that went around us. If you're not willing to step up and put your money where your mouth is, I get that. I do. But this is a game. It's all a bunch of BS. All the show votes, just like with the Republicans, all those show votes for the repeal and replacement of Obama, it is just a joke. And we'll see what happens, because right now you got 3 senators that are like, yeah, we're not going to do this. So can they get a fourth? They get a fourth. That's it. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, you can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Got a poll question up. It's about the media. Do you trust the media? Do you not trust the media? Do you somewhat trust the media? Do you trust the media implicitly? Let us know at Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Each and every day at this time, we like to break it down like it's hot. We simply call this, kids, our urban word of the day.
It's time for the urban word of the day, fam.
What? Right now?
Time to get a little more hip on the streets.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Urban word of the day.
Oh, so my little sister, she broke this down for me over the weekend because they were talking. And she said, so we all know that tea is gossip, right? Having a little tea, a little gossip. But when the tea is so hot you can't drink it, that means it's juicy gossip. She's like, you can't touch this. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It seems like a very young thing. But she goes, yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on over here, and this is hot. So hot it'll burn you. So when your tea's too hot because it burns, that means that gossip is juicy. It's your urban word of the day.
Thank you for saying that in dated urban slang so that I'll understand you.
That there was the urban word of the day. We damn stretched your cranium.
Your baby's finally sleeping through the night, but you're still craving more Z's. Rest assured, pardon the pun, you aren't alone. A recent survey found some parents stay sleep deprived up to 6 years in some cases. Women were more likely to be impacted by a lack of sleep than men, but things like single parenting, age, and income didn't seem to be a factor.
No, and here's the other thing that they don't, like, if you go back and you look at parents 20 years ago plus, and you look at parents over the last decade and a half, 2 decades, we've had the advent of electronics in our room, from laptops to tablets and, of course, smartphones, which I think also makes it harder to go back to sleep because the first thing you do after you get the baby settled down is what? You hop on that, see if anything's happened. That's what we do now. That's it. I'm telling you, that has a huge, huge play in that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Bill Maher, I think, was trying to make things better, but he ended up insulting a good portion of America. We'll talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
It's something that I have to make sure that I could run a first-rate effort to do this and make clear where I think the country should go and how to get there.
Joe Biden, former vice president, and a lot of people are pushing him and edging him into it. Here's my thing. The people that are you've got this situation in the Democratic Party where they look at the numbers in the world of reality and say, a lot of these other people, it seems great, right? The parties, the people that are woke and in this situation where they're behind their candidate, they are believing that this is who needs to be, whether it's Harris or Bernie or whoever, right? So, but then when they look at the polls of likely voters that aren't those people that are inside this vacuum of politics, and they're looking across the board, they're like, Biden beats them all, right? So, but does he decide to do it? He's getting closer and closer. I have a feeling sooner rather than later he's going to make the decision, and it sounds more and more like that he is leaning towards he's going to try it.
We're in the final stages of that decision, and but it would be the greatest honor of my life to be president of the United States.
Joe. Will we be surprised?
I have not made the final decision, but don't be surprised.
Are you far away? Like, are you, what is that? Because it feels like you're there.
No. Well, but I'm not there yet.
You will be. He's going to do it. I think we all know he's going to do it. Let's not fool ourselves. So you have to temper if you're this is like one of those things like when we've talked about like with the campaign. If I'm Trump, I make building the wall. It worked so well the first time. Why not go back to the well again? Why not don't reinvent the wheel that got you there when you still have there's still legs in this, right? That tank is still somewhat pretty full. So let's use that and fight with it. And you're doing some of that now. And especially, I think the best thing that could happen to Donald Trump is that the courts all shoot him down across the board so he can go back and say, I've tried everything. So we've really got to make sure not only that we win, but we've got to make sure that we put more Republicans out there so we can get this thing done. That would be huge for him. It would be. But if I'm a campaign person, I'm looking at who really has a shot. Is it Bernie? I don't know. I mean, he seems to be doing pretty well money-wise, right? He's got $10 million raised in not very long, did his CNN town hall last night. Out of all those things that he's done, the $10 million that he's raised has been pretty interesting because 39% of that, almost 40% of that is new money, which is, and by new money, I mean people that aren't returning donors. These are brand new dollar bills that are coming to him. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays itself out. But if you're a person that has got to say, okay, where's the smart money go? Because you're looking at all of these polls, likely voters and people that will be voting, it is more important what they think than this small group over here that is uber excited because of Harris or some of these other uber progressive people. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Very interesting what Bill Maher did. And he was trying to do something. I'm not quite sure. Like it came across as usual, very elitist. I like some of the stuff Bill Maher does. I do. Right? I don't dislike Bill Maher. I think he's very funny, and I think some of the stuff he says is very real. And I like the shots he takes, and he's willing to take some shots back. And but he tried to talk. He was talking about Amazon, New York City, what Amazon should be doing rather than what they did do.
And finally, new rule: if Bugsy Siegel could invent Las Vegas out of a desert stopover for GIs, Amazon can turn Nebraska into the next Silicon Valley. As I'm sure you know by now, Amazon has scrapped its plans to build a giant headquarters in New York because the city balked at giving the richest company in the world a $3 billion tax bribe. So Amazon took their ball and went home.
So they took their ball and went home. So that's where it starts. But then it starts talking about middle America, right? Middle America. Because when you look at an electoral map, you look at it, it's the coasts are all blue, right? Both sides. And then you've got red in the center. But for years, we've talked about the two different worlds that is going, the fight that's going on, the clash, the cultural clash between rural America and small town America and big town, big city. They've got everything. They're smarter than everybody. Anybody in the flyover states drags their knuckles, breathes out of their mouths, and dates their sister.
We have a problem in America called spatial geographic inequality, which means that the most affluent and educated people are clustered in just a few cities. Last year, Hillary Clinton said, I won the places that represent 2/3 of America's gross domestic product. I won the places that are optimistic, diverse, dynamic, moving forward. Yes, you did. And maybe that has something to do with why Trump voters are obsessed with owning the libs. Because the libs own everything else.
See, so it starts out there. So that's what it is, right? Like they own the libs. And I want to think that he's trying to say, hey, you know what? Amazon, do the right thing. Go to somewhere like Omaha, Nebraska, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, some of these smaller towns in small town America, and say, look, we're going to turn this into it. One of the reasons that they rolled this stuff out in big cities in places from whether it be Phoenix or Nashville, whether it be New York City or other places, one of the reasons that they went to those places is because they have manpower and female power and person power and fail to or not want to describe power that they could grab on and say, come work here, come work here. In a lot of other places, it's not going to be that way. You're going to have to be bringing people in from all over the place. People are going to have to move there. And maybe they don't want to move, right? Because they think of the same thing, right? Like, oh, I don't want to go to Omaha because it's knuckle draggers, mouth breathers, right? You know, inbreds, racist, all of these things. So why would I want to go to a place like that, even though Amazon's going there? So that is one of, it's not just, New York this and all of these big cities and they took their ball and went home. There's a lot of reasons why they chose some of these places because they've got a workforce in place that they can draw upon as opposed to trying to bring people to come there. And when you describe places like middle America like this, why would somebody want to leave and go to those places if that's what you're saying these places are?
There are two Americas, and it seems like one is where all the cool jobs are, where people drive Teslas and eat artisanal ice cream. We have orchestras and theater districts and world-class shopping. We have Chef Wolfgang Puck. They have Chef Boyardee. Our roofs have solar panels. Theirs have last year's Christmas lights.
So basically it's all just a giant trailer park and they're all a bunch of trash. And that was supposed to be a kind way of saying, hey, we've got two different Americas, but we should be doing more. We should try to come together. We should find out why things are like that. Having grown up in California, have been born and raised there for a good portion of my life, but also been fortunate enough to live around the country in small towns and big cities, not just around this country, but around the globe. I will tell you this. There's a certain, the thought is that everybody who lives in a small town wants to get out. And that everybody who lives in a big city thinks that everybody wants to come to the big city. That's not always true. Right? That's not always true. And I love how they talk about Main Street America, yet they look down upon Main Street America as simpletons and idiots. It just boggles my mind. It does. It boggles my mind. But that's the way that people in a lot of, I've got friends that way. When I moved to Texas, I had friends in California going, man, you're going to the most racist place in the history of the world. That place is so racist and so vile and so back-asswards and rednecky. I lived in Texas. I lived in San Antonio, Texas. And I will tell you this right now. It was one of the most diverse places I've ever lived, if not the most diverse in the sense that, you live in California, they scream at diversity, but the reality is the Mexicans live here, the black people live here, the Asians live here, the crackers live here. Do you see what I'm doing there? Yeah, they may all be in the same area, but it's kind of like a plate where everything is kind of pushed to the side. It wasn't like that way. It was like a chicken pot pie. Everybody was together, right? It was just all mashed together. It was amazing. I didn't find what a lot of people thought. Oh, this is what you can find in Texas. But that's the way they feel. It is. And the culture war that's going on isn't just always with Islam and how they don't like the West, not just America, but the West and freedom. The reality is here we have a culture war on how certain peoples on the coast believe that everybody over flyover state is basically talks like this and brags their knuckles and says, you're my sister, mama, but I love you. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Cohen is testifying tomorrow, and people are already getting ready. This is Matt Getz of Florida.
When people like Michael Cohen, who's about to go to prison for lying, come before the Congress, there is an enhanced responsibility on the part of members of Congress to test that veracity, to test the truthfulness and character of the witness, and I think we ought to do it with great vigor.
Yeah, and he's very excited about it, and on top of that, he's hammered him on Twitter and I guess threatened him. I mean, this is the silliness that goes along with this, and tomorrow, and I said it, and people are hammering back at me on Twitter, that I said, tomorrow, you got today behind closed doors. You may learn some stuff, you may not. Most of it's going to be about Russia over these 2 days behind closed doors, but tomorrow, sandwiched between those days, is what? Tomorrow is the show day. It's the day where the show happens. And it's more about the people asking the questions and their 15 minutes than it is the person answering them. I said earlier, you could put a cardboard cutout up there because all they care about is their screen time. Like, make sure you get my good side. Make sure you get my good side. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. House passed the resolution to revoke Trump's national emergency declaration. It goes down to the Senate. We'll see what happens from there. They've already got 3 senators. Murkowski and Collins are on there. I think a third one is a Republican. People who are uncomfortable with this. And it's not just simply because, oh, it's evil, it's mean, and this is how it looks. The people I've talked to who are Republicans that worry about this worry more about what happens in the future. With, if we do this now, what are the Democrats when they eventually have a situation where there's a president there who wants to declare a state of emergency, whether it's climate change or guns, and goes about doing it? That's a big worry for a lot of people. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. Got a poll question up today. It is about a new poll that came out that says, guess what? We don't really trust the media. The Columbia Journalism Review has a poll out that essentially says we have hardly any trust for the media. No matter your income, your color, your sexuality, whatever it is, we have very little trust. We have a lot of trust in the military, some trust in the law enforcement, universities, Supreme Court, executive branch, the press. Congress has the worst, right? The Congress wishes it had the press approval ratings. But some of the stuff in this was amazing, including that they pay for stories. It's just, it is amazing. But the media is not looked upon highly. It isn't. So what do you think? Do you trust the media? Do you not trust the media? You can text the program 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. 7% say have a lot of trust. 21% say nope. 40% say very little trust. 32% says no trust at all. Tweet at us. Text the program as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Plea deal this.
Mueller, arrest me.
Chad will trade you 2 perjury charges for 1 collusion and throw in a reduced charge of obstruction for free.
Yeah, I'd do that.
For just listening to The Chad Benson Show.
When cystic fibrosis led to an infection in Ella Balassa's lungs, antibiotics weren't strong enough to fight it.
It's just really gotten worse.
So she went to Yale University, where researchers are trying to fight these so-called superbugs with other bugs. In her case, they're using a virus called a bacteriophage, a bacterial predator found in nature in places like ponds and sewers. Biologist Benjamin Chan.
We're dirty animals, and so the sewage is great.
Further testing is needed, but in Balassa's case, the bacteriophage killed off enough of her infection to make antibiotics useful again. Scott Goldberg, ABC News.
How cool is that? So the enemy of my enemy, right? So the way that they're doing this, and they're looking at superbugs in a lot of ways, because they're looking to see, can other stuff in nature and other things in other human beings' bodies fight off stuff? So let's say there is a superbug that's antibiotic resistance. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's something like this or the flu or something like that. Could there be something that you could introduce into somebody's body that would do what antibiotics would normally do, which is fight it? But because they're fighting over the host, the thing that you introduce may not be antibiotic resistant, but the thing it's taking on, it will fight and potentially defeat. And then you introduce potentially antibiotics, defeating it. How cool is that? Look at the way that we do stuff nowadays. That's what I love about tech and all of this stuff. I just think it is, the way that we're going about doing things is huge. And I think over time, it is only going to get better over the next coming years and years and years and years. And I want to see where we go with this. I do. I absolutely think that the introduction of tech and the way that we're using that towards health is going to be massive. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Do love hearing from each and every single one of you. Once again, North Korea, right? And the United States of America, Little Mr. Ken, Rocket Man, and our dear leader Trump are getting together for all the stuff we hear about. The one thing I don't hear much asked about this summit, because we all know what we want. But what about them?
What Kim Jong-Un would like to see President Trump agree to would be relief from sanctions, which the administration has said is not going to happen until there is a complete denuclearization. Other very big thing that Kim Jong-Un would likely push for is U.S. troops leaving the Korean Peninsula. Last week, our colleague Lana Zak asked the president if this was up for discussion, and he said it is not on the table, but there's certainly a lot of buzz in the region that this is something that the North Korean leader will be pushing very hard for.
Yeah, probably not going to get that. May get some relief from sanctions. Maybe get some, will bring some people out. But you're going to have to show us some stuff, too. And we may give a little bit more than we get. It may not be an equal trade, but we've got to see some action first and foremost. It can't just be let's all get together and have a lot of fun. And then you get to be the center of attention for 24, 48 hours, whatever it is. And then at the end of the day, there's nothing. You've got to do something. You got to give something. But you're going to want something in return. And we always hear about the things that we want. Well, what's he want? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet us. People tweeting in about whether or not they trust the media. And remember, media and journalism, two different things. You go to Fox News, that's the media. There's a few journalists that report on stuff, but the talking heads you see on there are the media. Same thing with MSNBC and everywhere else. We've lost journalism because we don't want it. We, in many ways, have killed journalism because we don't want to consume it that way. We want to be entertained with our information, and we don't even want information. We just want affirmation. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. I'm telling you guys, no matter what anybody tells me, that Colin Kaepernick wants to play football is a bunch of crap because the XFL approached him and he told him he wants $20 million a year. He doesn't want to play. The next person that tells me he wants to play football, you're lying to yourself because somebody who really wants to get back in the league is willing to play for $100,000 or go to Canada. You don't want to get back in the league. You are not serious. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Check out thechadshow.com. Grab your podcast there. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
I look forward to tomorrow, to being able to, in my voice, to tell the American people my story, and I'm going to let the American people decide exactly who's telling the truth.
Nobody believes you. Even you don't believe you. That's how full of crap you are. Michael Cohen tomorrow. And according to CNN, we're just hours away from it because they have a countdown clock. Very excited about this. We got nothing going on. Check this out. So Michael Cohen is going to be speaking. Today he spoke. We'll touch on that in a bit, but he is very excited about the chance, right? The chance.
I really appreciate the opportunity that was given to me to clear the record and to tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Get the chance to tell the truth. Now, it is going to be very interesting to see what takes place here. Behind closed doors, Tuesday, Thursday, tomorrow in front of everybody. I keep saying it's the show time tomorrow. This is, tonight, like all the senators and all the people asking questions and the people behind them, they're all getting their party pump in. They're working out. They're doing extra crunches. They're eating lean tonight. They're going to get to bed extra early. They're making sure that they shoot the good side. Make sure you get this side because it's all about, tomorrow's all about my screen time. Make sure you get this. I'm practicing. This is what you need to tell the world. How did that sound? This is what you need to tell the world. Was that too much? We need to know. We need to know. You feeling that? Like that's what they're practicing tonight. Because tomorrow, you're not going to find out anything that you don't already know. And the stuff that you are going to hear tomorrow, some of it you're going to go, I don't really believe you. It's hard to believe you.
Cohen will also explain why he lied to Congress about a Trump Tower deal in Moscow, a project he now admits Trump's team was negotiating well into the campaign. Sources say he will also produce some of the president's financial statements, which he says show Trump made false claims about his net worth. Republicans are on the attack. Congressman Matt Gaetz, a Trump ally, tweeting what seemed like a threat to reveal embarrassing personal information about Cohen, saying Cohen's wife is, quote, about to learn a lot.
We're witness testing, not witness tampering. And when witnesses come before Congress, their truthfulness and veracity are in question, and we have the opportunity to test them.
But Cohen tonight is undeterred, a source close to him insisting facts will come out tomorrow, and no amount of threats against Mr. Cohen and his family or baseless smears can change them.
We'll see. If tomorrow is a show trial, essentially. Right? It's a show trial. It might as well be something you see on regular network TV or Amazon or Netflix. Right? All we need is Cary Grant and To Kill a Mockingbird or whatever, right? Like, it's all we need. Or just get out there and just do your thing and just deliver, because that's what it is, right? We're not going to find. We'll get some Moscow answers, but how much do you believe that? Because you're also looking at somebody who's lied on numerous occasions. In fact, he's lied to the point where a guy who never speaks about any of this stuff, that has been so close-lipped that he just doesn't say anything, felt the need to come out. And I'm talking about Bob Mueller, felt the need to come out and say he's lying. So how do you take him seriously? How do you take him seriously at all? Today, he was on the Hill, and these are the behind the clothes where you may learn some other stuff, but we'll not hear about those kind of things.
Republicans and the White House are trying to discredit Cohen's testimony by pointing out that he has lied to Congress before. The White House press secretary saying, quote, it's laughable that anyone would take a convicted liar like Cohen at his word. But members of the Senate Intelligence Committee tell us this was a serious grilling, and that the Cohen that showed up today was, quote, a very different guy.
Well, we'll find out, right? But if you believe that Cohen's a liar, which he is, so both sides of you should agree on that, something you should agree on. But if you believe he's doing this to spite whatever he says is a lie, and even if he's telling the truth, it's hard to convince the American public that this guy who has lied on numerous occasions is telling the truth, and to buy into that. So it's more about the person asking the questions, not the person answering said questions. And then, while everybody gets ready for bed after this exciting whirlwind time, the love affairs. You remember this love affair?
My relationship with Kim Jong-Un is a good one. I got along great with Chairman Kim. I got along great. A man I have gotten to know and like. And then we fell in love. Okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters. And they're great letters. We fell in love.
Fell in love. Yeah, as everybody gets ready to go to sleep, they start their summit. Part 2. What will this be? I don't know. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen. Can we get them to do anything? I don't think we can get them to do what a lot of people want. And that doesn't mean it's not going to be success, right? Because everybody wants them to give up everything when it comes to their nuclear arsenal, but they don't see the bigger picture, that it's not about threatening the world, it's maybe about them.
We currently assess that North Korea will seek to retain its WMD capabilities and is unlikely to completely give up its nuclear weapons and production capabilities because its leaders ultimately view nuclear weapons as critical to regime survival.
Absolutely. So they're not giving up anything. They're not. They may give up some. Meaning, hey, we've got 20. You guys can have 15. We'll make sure that we take care of them. You can bring people in and we'll do that. But we're not giving up everything because it is about us. We feel if we got rid of these, the chances of potentially, people always talk about, well, America and the South would invade and it would become Korea again and this and the other. The reality is, I think they worry just as much as about Beijing and the potential of them coming over and just eventually morphing them in. And then all of a sudden, North Korea doesn't exist. And if you're South Korea, that's the last thing you want either. They want to make sure that their regime and that their nation lives on. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't. I do think that overall what you're going to find in the coming, weeks is if we start to give some stuff up, we may be giving up more than potentially we're getting back. But that may be the thing that we have to do as a trade-off to start to see things moving forward, because we can't continue to have these things and not see any kind of movement. So we may have to give into some concessions, meaning maybe we remove some people from, not everybody, but we can show that we can move some troops or maybe some ships away from the region, from the peninsula. Not everybody, but a few. Even if it's a gesture, maybe we start to loosen up some of the sanctions in there as a gesture, but we've got to see something, because we can't continue to do what we do and make him the center of attention, which he enjoys because he gets to sit at the big boys table because he has a big boy weapon. If we don't get something in return, we can't keep doing that, because then it just feels like you're just an attention hound and that's all you want, which is a lot of what he wants. But there's got to be, if you want more attention, you're going to have to give something too. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet us the emergency declaration. You remember that? The state of emergency. Remember this?
I urge all of my colleagues to vote yes.
Yeah. And all the colleagues did vote yes. And now Trump's emergency, his state of emergency, looks to be falling apart. It's not, but it could be. And I'll tell you why. Now that it has passed the House, so getting rid of the state of emergency, it's passed the House. It's going to go down to the Senate. When it goes down to the Senate, they need 4. They have 3. 3 Republicans are saying, you know what? I'm feeling comfortable. Murkowski and Collins, I'm feeling comfortable with this. And here's the reasoning why I would vote yes. Has nothing to do with this. Has all to do with the future and what another president may do or decide to do. That is the issue I would have. And a few of them have echoed those sentiments. So we'll see what's going to happen. You heard a lot of them out there today talking about all kinds of stuff. And, as they do their, they get up there and they do their speeches and deliver, this is why we need to do this. This is it. And Congress has put themselves in this poor position when it comes to something like the state of emergency, because over the years, and I think it's been since the 70s, you've continued to give administration after administration a little bit wider berth in this, and then you've got yourself to this thing where it's very gray and fuzzy, and there's lots that left open to interpretation, so they can seize upon these kind of things, and that's on you.
If this declaration of national emergency is upheld by Congress, there are no boundaries under the current law to what the president can do.
But that's why the Republicans should be looking at this going, we don't want this either. Because if this thing, he's got veto power. And I think the reason he knows that he wants to take this as far as he can, because I think he thinks I've got the court in my favor. So right there is a victory for me. But here's the issue I have. What will presidents in the future do? Meaning, let's just say for the sake of argument, it's kind of like it is now in the House and the Senate. Really close. One has the other. What if it's a Democratic president and they say climate change, guns, these kind of things are a huge national emergency, and they run on to that? What then? It'll go up to the courts, and if you have, a way that you feel that you've got this thing and it's a 5-4 or potentially by then a 6-3, well, maybe it gets shot down. But it is something to think about, and I think too often people don't think of the future, right? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Got a poll question up. We'll touch on that. It is Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
In their zeal to match the sweeping rhetoric of right-wing populism, Democrats are spinning out dramatic proposals indeed, but in which facts are sometimes misrepresented, the numbers occasionally don't add up, and emotional appeal tends to trump actual policy analysis.
Yes. Fareed Zakaria right there. And the reason I bring this up and what he did here is talk about the media. And I'm part of the media. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a journalist. I work with reporters and journalists who, by the way, are told in no uncertain terms, do you give opinion? So when I talk to them, I'll joke with them, I do stuff like that. But they are not going to give me their opinion on something, right? Like they may give me opinion on whether, I don't know if somebody was telling the truth. There was a lot of, but they're not going to give me opinion on certain things. They're going to give me the who, what, when, how, and why, and what they covered. And the media, according to a new poll by the Columbia Journalism Review, is not looked upon very well. Because a lot of times they don't press, they don't do the things. They've become champions, in particular, of the left side of the aisle more than the right side of the aisle. There is the right side of the aisle places that you can find that media. But don't confuse journalism with media. Part of that's on us. We need something. We need to consume something that is entertaining. No more can you just tell us those things. And it's so funny when you confront people or even ask them certain questions. You ask anybody who's a good journalist, they'll tell you the first question is like boxing. I'm setting you up for something that you don't know is coming. It's a jab. It's a jab. Why am I setting my jab out there? Because I'm setting you up for the big hook. I'm setting you up for something. And the first question should be that. And all too often we get a question and we get nothing else.
When Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was confronted recently about an egregious misstatement about Pentagon spending, she responded,
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
Perhaps this casual attitude towards facts explains the way that she and many others on the left have misrepresented the deal that New York offered Amazon to bring a new headquarters there.
But they didn't hammer her from there, right? And they don't come after her. And they don't come after a lot of people on both the right and the left. The right feels a lot more than the left does. And if you go on other talking head shows on Fox and stuff, you may get it if you're on the left-hand side of the aisle, which is, the arguing all the time is stupid. But we need that. And there's a reason that people don't trust the media, because they just don't feel like they're doing a good job anymore. They feel like, and according to this new poll, people believe that the media pays for stories, that they believe that they have to manufacture some, almost like it is entertainment, and that's what it's become. But that's on us as much as it is on anybody else. They're only giving us what they think that you want. They think that you want to be entertained, so they're going to bring on 4 people who are going to argue and yell at each other because you continue to turn into it. Because when it was just basically news people reading news articles that they put together and stories that they went out and covered, you didn't follow it. And that's an issue. That's a big issue. We don't have a lot of confidence in the media and what mainstream mainstream media, I call it establishment media. New York Times, LA Times, CBS, NBC, ABC, those kind of things are far more, Washington Post, whatever, they're far more establishment than the media that's the new media today. But most of you agree. You know what? You don't trust. And it doesn't matter if you're on the right or left. You have a certain distrust with the media. And they've done a lot of that to themselves. They really have. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet us. What do you think? Do you trust the media? Do you not trust the media? I can see why people don't trust the media, but do you understand the difference between journalism and media? And I think a lot of people don't. They look at media and think everybody's a journalist. Well, some of them probably were sometimes journalists. They're not anymore because you know what? Being a journalist didn't pay the bills. You know what does? Going on television saying outrageous things. 6% of you say, I trust the media. 20% say I have some trust. 39% say very little trust. 35% say no trust at all. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Bernie had his shot last night on CNN. How did he do? Did he say some neat things? Was he funny? Was he cordial? Was he cantankerous? Yes, to all of those things. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter. ChadBenson. You can check out thechadshow.com. Grab your podcast there where available. Absolutely free. And remember, I'm not a journalist. I am part of that wacky media. But I am not a journalist, and we're all about facts over feelings here. We'll try to be empathetic, but if we can laugh at you, we're definitely going to do that. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
independent in thoughts, and punk rock in life. It's The Chad Benson Show.
My relationship with Kim Jong-Un is a good one. I got along great with Chairman Kim. I got along great. A man I have gotten to know and like. And then we fell in love. Okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters. And they're great letters. We fell in love.
Part 2 takes place Thursday, which will be late tomorrow night as Kim Jong-Un and President Trump get together to talk about, obviously, North Korea, nuclear weapons, things of that nature. I don't know how it's going to go. We say it all the time, and we talk about it here. To understand, the average person who doesn't understand that world, and it's hard even for people who look into that world, who study that world, to really get an understanding of that world. And by that world, I mean that hermit country, the country that has cut themselves off from the rest of the globe, how important nuclear weapons are to them, because there's a summit going on tomorrow. Into, our tomorrow, Wednesday, into Thursday, that will take place that the eyes of the world are on. That makes them relevant. But it's also about keeping their regime and the power that they have. They feel if that went away, if nuclear weapons weren't there, that eventually they would be either taken over by China and or South Korea. That everybody would divvy it up and North Korea would cease to exist. And that is not something that Kim Jong-Un and the Kim family is. This is why they've done what they've done. It's been defiant at times to Beijing and to the rest of the world. So the thought of giving up nuclear weapons, could they give up enough to maybe keep 1 or 2 and still feel like they're relevant? It is possible. It is. You don't know. But to think that they would ever give them up, even if they said, we're giving them all up, here is everything, you and I both know that's not everything. So how do you bring them to the table in a way that modernizes them to the rest of the world and what the world's looking for, which is more peace and less threats? That's the question. And you do that, if you're Trump and the rest of the world, by making everything seem like it's Kim's idea, it's Kim's plan, it's all about the Kimster. Wow, we never thought of that. You're brilliant. You're amazing. You play to his ego. And that's one of the things that I think Trump gets, because he understands, because people do that to him, that other leaders don't get. And one of the reasons I think he's got further, not only is he willing to meet with Kim, but he's also willing to play a game that other leaders couldn't have played with Kim. Doesn't mean it's going to be successful. So you just don't know. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. We were talking before we went to the break, so rudely interrupted, about the media and how people view it. And our poll question today is, how much do you trust the media? Do you trust the media at all? 4% say you got a lot of trust. 26% say I have some trust. 40%, little to no trust. And 30% say no trust at all. You can tweet at me at Chad Benson Show. You can text the program as well. I want to hear from you. Do you trust the media? Right? And again, it's the media. It stops being news and it stops being journalism, because it's now media, because we consume our media, social media, radio, television, online, old-fashioned style by getting a newspaper, right? Do you trust any of that stuff anymore? And do you care and even really want to find out the truth? Or are you only looking to affirm your belief, which I think is so vitally important in this day and age, to understand that even if presented with facts, more often than not, people themselves will not change their belief, because it's so ingrained who they are. They have made it part of their identity. And because of that, the chances of changing somebody's belief is slim to none. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I want to hear from you. Last night, he got his.
This president is the first president in the modern history of our country who is trying to divide our people up based on the color of their skin, the country they were born in, their sexual orientation, their gender, their religion. and that is an outrage. Our job is to bring our people together, not to divide them up. That's why Mr. Trump must be defeated.
Bernie Sanders last night got his CNN town hall. Everybody gets one. Producer Phil and I will be having ours sometime in the next week or two, because apparently we also will be running for president of the United States. Sounds like something fun to do. It's the usual. I watched some of it. So a long trip, and I drove a lot this week, and I got home, and I had to get up early. So I stayed in a hotel close by, because I'm about an hour plus outside of the studio. And I got it back late from driving all weekend long. And I said, well, I'm going to go work out because I want to feel refreshed. And I just feel like after being in the car, doing all this stuff, I needed some of that. So I watched some of it as I was just kind of stretching my legs. I rode a bike for about 15, 20 minutes, and I ran a couple miles, and I was watching some of it. And I'm not trying to brag about how sweet I am at running. But as I'm watching it, one thing's for sure, and I talked to producer Anthony about this, is normally you make your run, right, into the presidency, and because of our short attention span, you don't get there, and then that's it. There doesn't seem to be the second bite at the apple, right? You don't get that second bite. He's getting his second bite of the apple. He's up. I mean, he's raised like $10 million. And by the way, the money he's raised, almost 40% of it is from new donors, right? From new donors. He said some stuff that was interesting. He said some stuff that was funny. I don't dislike Bernie Sanders. I think he's a good guy. I think he believes all the things he believes. I think and people, is he a socialist? Yes. Do I think he wants socialism like Venezuela? No. I'm being honest here. I don't think he wants that. I think he thinks the hubris is that we can do it better than everybody else. That's why it's not worked. He talked last night about all kinds of things, including, yes, Medicare for all and the expense.
The estimate is that in the next 10 years, we're going to spend $50 trillion on health care. The only way to provide health care to all people in a cost-effective way is a Medicare for all single-payer program. All right? That's what I believe.
That's what he absolutely believes. 110%. He believes it. 110%. The cost, $50 trillion on health care. Yeah. But right now, that cost is why? Because we have Obamacare. We don't have the free market the way it should be. We have way too many restrictions, whether it be states or whether it be on the federal level, where you can and can't build medical facilities, how you can and can see doctors, the whole night. It's frustrating as hell. It really, really is. Talked about education, because that's a huge, huge, huge thing. And free tuition, because that's also one of the things he's been touting for God knows how long, is how free education should be when it comes to all education, in particular, the higher up education.
We live in a competitive global economy. And if this economy in the United States is going to work, we need to have the best educated workforce in the world. 30 or 40 years ago, we actually did. We no longer do have the best educated workforce. Now, higher education today is the equivalent of what a high school education was 40 or 50 years ago. And that means we make public colleges and universities tuition free, and we substantially lower the outrageous levels of student debt.
Yeah. I don't know how you do that. All right. I don't know how you do that. And here's one of the things you talk about, right? And this is something that because he talked a bit more about how he was going to do some of that stuff that included, Wall Street and some of these other things, which I thought was very intriguing. And I talked a bit about this the other day because my son is going through something. My son goes to a school that is uber competitive. In fact, so much so that he's got on average, about 2.5 hours of homework a night, when other schools around his area do not have that kind of homework. He has Saturday schools that they encourage the kids to go to. Saturday school. And as I was talking about, you look around the globe, they're not that way. They've taken away a recess out of my child's school. They've taken away a recess. He's in 3rd grade. It gets easier after that. Our higher education is the best. But education across the board has changed here in this country over the last umpteen decades. Big time. And the way that we educate our kids nowadays, we teach towards tests. We don't do the things that we should have done. When you get to college, there's a reason that everybody wants to come here and go to college. There is. And if you want to go to college in Europe, you're usually looking at like Oxford or Cambridge. You're not thinking about a lot of other things, right? You're not going to. I've had several of my friends who send their kids off to school in Europe for a semester. They're not going there for the education. They're going there to practice their language skills, and they're going there to learn a couple things, but they're mostly going there for the experience itself of living somewhere for 6 months is education beyond education. It really is. He also talked about, yes, socialism and Scandinavian socialism, which I have to remind you every time he brings this up. What did the Scandinavians said? We're not socialist.
When we talk about human freedom and rights, we've got to understand that everybody needs a decent paying job, that people need health care, that people need education. As you go to countries in Scandinavia, of course, health care is a right. Higher education is free. They have strong preschool programs. They make sure that their elderly folks can retire in dignity. These are not radical ideas. So what democratic socialism means to me is having in a civilized society the understanding that we can make sure that all of our people live in security and in dignity.
Here's the difference between Scandinavia, having been there on numerous occasions, lived over there for a little bit, played ball over there. Here's the difference. It's a homogenized society. That's it. Very homogenized society. Very much everybody's pulling in the same direction. Everybody kind of agrees on the same thing. Everybody from top to bottom is virtually the same. Education-wise, understanding-wise, literacy-wise, it's all kind of the same. It's the middle class that robs from the middle class to pay the middle class. There's very few uppers, very few below. Everybody understands their role, and they play it to a T. And very little diversity. When you have a country this big with this much diversity and so many different competing factions on all kinds of things, what you're going to have is the wheels come off the bus a lot faster than there. It's simple. It's easy. That's it. And I don't think people understand that. I don't. Over the last couple of years, because of the influx of people from places like Syria and whatnot are coming there, guess what they've done? They've gotten frustrated. Nope, you're coming here. You want no part of being a Dane or a Swede or a Norwegian or any of these things. You are coming here for the cradles of the grave benefits. You want no part in participating in who you are, and you're finding a rise of what? Nationalism. Because if you're going to be here, you're going to be a part of it, where we have a country where you can come here and still be you and not have to participate. And if we dare say that you have to in some way, shape, or form participate, well, we're somehow evil and bad. Can't compare the two. It's way too tough. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You guys have been following at many times the story of my cat 3. For those of you guys who don't know, I've got a great cat. His name is 3. We call him 3 because he has 3 legs. He used to have 4, and then some white trash jerkface shot his leg. I think I know who it is. And these kids are awful, and they're horrible, and he's lost his leg. We had to end up taking his leg off. We only had him for like a month, and he ended up losing his leg. And he escaped the house because he's fast, and it's horrible. But let me tell you something about 3. I love him more than anything. And that's why I said to myself, I love this cat. I spent a lot of money on this cat. I want to keep this cat healthy. So when you're dealing with something like litter, let me tell you something. It's messy, it's smelly, it's heavy. It's conventional cat litter, awful, horrible. Me, I switched to pretty litter. Right? It's kitty litter 2.0. And let me tell you one of the reasons. First of all, simple, it's easy, it's lightweight, it's incredible, and it's delivered to me. Secondly, odor protection is always great. And this is coming from a guy where I've got massive reptiles, and I smell the litter more than I smell the reptiles. In my house is pretty much, you couldn't even tell I had animals except for the litter. That's where this comes in. Super amazing, incredible stuff. Traps and conceals the odor. But here's the great thing about it. Monitors your cat's health. That's why it's 2.0. That's right. Changes colors to detect underlying illnesses before urgent medical care is needed, therefore saving you money, which is important. Do what I did. Make the switch to Pretty Litter today. Visit prettylitter.com. Use the promo code Chad. 20% off your first order. It is incredible, and it is so lightweight. That's the other thing that's amazing. Pretty Litter, Pretty, litter.com. Promo code Chad. 20% off. Prettylitter.com. Promo code Chad. At Chad Benson Show. Twitter, ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say
what? A beer that's magically delicious. You always after me, Lucky Charms.
What?
In Virginia, they're making a Lucky Charms beer. Saturday morning IPA.
Vile.
Is what it's called. It tastes like frosted Lucky Charms. Yeah, so it's made with a pound of marshmallows and some fruity calypso.
That just sounds awful. It does. It just sounds awful. I will say this. First of all, I don't like marshmallows. I've never liked marshmallows. I don't like roasting marshmallows. I don't like eating marshmallows. I don't want marshmallows in my ice cream, and I don't want them in my hot chocolate. But I did have some cereal over the weekend. Jack and I were hanging out in the hotel, and I thought, I'm going to have some cereal. And lo and behold, I had some Fruit Loops, and I thought, these are all right. I can eat these, right? It's not good for you, I'm sure, but they were okay. But as far as a beer goes, or any kind of beverage whatsoever made out of it, I'm going to give that a big, fat pass. I'm just saying, it's gross. So picture this, right? And producer Phil, for those of you guys who don't know, is obsessed with trains and whatnot. You get on a train from Seattle bound to Los Angeles, thinking this will be a fun adventure, not realizing it's just beginning.
I've been on the train for 38 hours, or 40 hours. It's close to 40. But we have passengers here that got on in Seattle, so they've been here for 50 hours. And we have crew members here that have been going for about 30.
Yeah. So think about that. Because of a tree and then lots of heavy snow, they couldn't move the train. They just pulled into Eugene a little while ago. They haven't got to Los Angeles or anywhere near there. It is an absolute nightmare, and not everybody's handling it well.
We've had some younger, college students that are missing college classes, and their professors, especially at UCLA and UC Sacramento, are unwilling to work with their students. They claim they were lying about being stuck on a train. So we've had a couple of meltdowns, some panic attacks, a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, and if you're on a train, you should, unless you're making it a true adventure, and that is your only mode of transportation, is you're doing a train rather than an airplane, and you had to get somewhere fast, you should know there's a potential of silly things for happening, and for that alone, you should get yourself in trouble. But needless to say, they are finally moving again, and producer Phil said there is a site where you can look at trains and what's going on, and for a while it was off the site, but now it is back on there, and they've gotten to Eugene, and people are now getting on airplanes because they're better. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter. Check out the chadshow.com. Grab your podcast, all the fun stuff we do here. We'd love to hear about you. Go to Facebook as well. I try to get back to everybody. When you tweet at me and you text at me, go take the poll. Do you trust the media? You can do that on the Twitter at Chad Benson Show. It is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The summit itself is on Thursday, and it's going to look very similar to what we saw in Singapore last summer. They'll have a one-on-one meeting. They'll bring in their staff, probably have a working lunch, and then we could see the president do an extended press conference like he did last summer. But there's a big difference this time around, and I think this reflects what the president has said is this beautiful developing relationship he has with the North Korean leader.
It is beautiful. It is so beautiful.
My relationship with Kim Jong-Un is a good one. I got along great with Chairman Kim. I got along great. A man I have gotten to know and like, and then we fell in love. Okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters, and they're great letters. We fell in love.
They do have a relationship. It's an odd relationship. I get it. He's a despot. He kills people. I guess a defector said the other day that he kills people sometimes by flamethrower. Yeah, probably. Here's the thing. People, you look at dictators. I don't get and he was born into it. So in many ways, he was bred for this. I don't get it. Because your entire life as a dictator is killing people around you that you used to trust, used to have a relationship with, but at some point in time, you expect them to try to kill you first. So you continue to kill. It's just waiting for your turn. And along the way, you grab everything you possibly can. Little different in the world that they live in because of their godlike status and what they've done over there in North Korea and how Kim Jong-Un and the Kim family over years have made it so they have this mythical godlike status. And they've hypnotized and brainwashed a country. But the inner workings is still always that situation where you do everything you can to thwart anybody that you may see as some sort of potential threat to your reign and dynasty. But this summit is a very interesting summit. Something that I think a lot of people expect on the left, that at some point in time, it'll be a failed summit if he doesn't give them to give up all of their nuclear weapons, which will never happen.
We currently assess that North Korea will seek to retain its WMD capabilities and is unlikely to completely give up its nuclear weapons and production capabilities because its leaders ultimately view nuclear weapons as critical to regime survival.
Yeah. Regime survival is all they care about. And it's not just survival as Kim would be eventually thrown out, murdered, have to run and hide somewhere. They view it as survival of their country. Without this, their country will cease to exist. South Korea will take it over and it will just become Korea. Beijing may come in and China and take over a portion of it, and it will cease to exist as a land, as a country. For all the talk of what it is that America and the free world want, here's a question I don't hear asked, and it should be, is what the hell does he want?
What Kim Jong-Un would like to see President Trump agree to would be relief from sanctions, which the administration has said is not going to happen until there is a complete denuclearization. Other very big thing that Kim Jong-Un would likely push for is U.S. troops leaving the Korean Peninsula. Last week, our colleague Lana Zak asked the president if this was up for discussion, and he said it is not on the table, but there's certainly a lot of buzz in the region that this is something that the North Korean leader will be pushing very hard for.
Push, 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 push. He's going to want some concessions, but so are we. What are those things? Does he say, here's some of the nuclear weapons, we're not giving you all of them? Or here's a list of all of the stuff that we've had? Or we're going to open up some stuff to freedom? And I mean, we're going to want something, but he's going to want something as well. And are we willing to give it? Are we willing maybe to say, we're going to take this, but we're willing to give you a little bit more than what this should be as far as a fair trade because we want to show some sort of good faith. Now, don't let us down. I don't know. That will be interesting to see. And all the while this is happening, President Trump is out of the country, and we start this.
Michael Cohen is about to begin 3 days of congressional appearances, beginning with a closed-door interview today with the Senate Intelligence Committee. But it's Wednesday's testimony in open session that will have radios, TV sets, and computer browsers zeroed in on Capitol Hill. President Trump's ex-attorney will lay out details of what he's called Mr. Trump's history of lying, racism, and cheating over the course of Cohen's 10 years in his employment.
Now, most of what's going to happen over the next 3 days. So you've got 2 days behind closed doors, 1 day that is going to be to the public. The 2 days behind closed doors, stuff will be learned. It'll be a little bit more of a give and take in the questioning. It's going to be all under oath, which means he could face more serious issues if he was to lie. So we shall see what takes place and what we'll learn that comes out of those things in the coming, days. Tomorrow, in front of the world, this will be all about the people asking the questions, not the person answering the questions. What he says in many ways will be irrelevant. It's how can you grandstand? What can you do to make sure that you get your 5 minutes of fame and try to extend that with your secondary question, and then you scold him at every possible opportunity that you can. And both the Democrats and Republicans, you can't be seen to be weak here, meaning the Republicans, they've got to hammer, they've got to ask serious questions, they've got to hammer his credibility. But they're not doing that for you or I, because you've already made up your mind whether you believe Trump is innocent or guilty or whatever these things. You're literally, he's just the ball of this tennis match that's going to be going on tomorrow between the Democrats and the Republicans in front of the world. Tomorrow's his day where he really gets beat up, and that happens in front of everybody. But if you're a Democrat, you have to ask some serious questions too about his character, because you can't be seeing just a pander to trying to find information to embarrass the president. Because you also have to remember, all of this is going on, and Trump is over there trying to get something done with a guy who has nuclear weapons, who has said over and over again, this is what I'm trying to do because you guys are all trying to be really, really mean to me. So at any given time, I would like to maybe take you guys on and blow you up or kill all of the people next to us in Seoul or whatever. So weakening him isn't going to be easy. And think about him answering questions on Thursday morning or Wednesday night after they have all their stuff done. And he's going to be answering questions like, hey, did you guys have a good meeting? Yes. What did you think about Cohen's testimony? What did you think about Cohen saying that you were, you assaulted women all the time, that you lied about how much money you were worth depending on which way the wind blew and how that would help you, that you continually drop the N-bomb or were completely racist, that you have real deep, long, dark ties to Russia, which is really what anybody cares about, is the ties to Russia. That's it. Is there ties to Russia and potentially Saudi Arabia too, but in particular Russia?
What I intend to keep focused on is untangling the very complicated financial arrangements between Donald Trump and Russia.
Okay. Donald Trump and Russia. Boom. What does that mean? I don't know. That's why the taxes and the tax returns are so vital, because somewhere along the line, Trump, they feel, was desperate. Banks wouldn't lend him money. Somebody did. It was somebody who was potentially an oligarch or somebody in Saudi Arabia or one of these countries that control a bank. And they said, yeah, we'll give you $200 million or $300 million to keep floating you, and we'll do that. And that flash forward 10 years, and he's got, this situation where they feel like they've got him because they loaned him money. Because they've loaned him money, he has essentially had to pay them back by allowing them to do whatever they want, and he's the Manchurian candidate. And that's what they're going to try to do. I don't know if it's going to be effective, because remember, as Cohen delivers all of this stuff, what are we going to find here? Not a lot that we don't already know. We're going to find a guy who's bitter, who's angry, who's made a lot of mistakes, who's pissed at himself. And how much do I believe somebody who has been shown to lie at every turn to save his own ass? And that is not to the point where a guy who never talks, ever, in Bob Mueller, gets to the point where he says, I have to release a statement because what he's saying is absolutely a big lie. So how do you trust him? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. We got a question today as we look at this poll that's out about the confidence in the press. Do you have any confidence in the press at all? Any confidence at all in the press? And this new thing out of the Columbia Journalism Review is pretty telling on how much we don't. Male and female. Less confidence if you're female, but not by much, right? Urban and rural. If you're in a rural area, you have hardly any confidence at all. If you're in a urban area, you have confidence. So, rural areas do not believe the press. Urban areas tend to believe a little bit more, but still outpacing only some confidence or a great deal of confidence. No college, and some college plus. No college, just about 50% have no confidence. Hardly any. Over 50% with some college. And college plus is about 40-some%. So we don't really have a lot of trust in the media. And I understand that. I do. I understand that. And I think part of the problem has been is the media over the last several years has turned into, first of all, information affirmation. Everybody's found a lane that is successful to them. And because of that, they're delivering news for the people that have always been watching them. If you're in the right, you're going to be watching Fox. They're going to deliver the news for the people that have always watched Fox News and continue to do so, and who are lean on the right side. On the left, it's MSNBC, CNN. They're delivering the news that to people who believe, as they tend to do, on the left. Somewhere along the line, we forgot to say, oh, this isn't journalism anymore. This is talking heads. Journalism and media are two different things. Totally separate things. Journalism is still the who, what, when, how, and why. The media is opinion, is the fighting, is the just screaming and yelling at each other for insanity, because it's a great way to get people to pay attention. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. What do you think about the media? You can text the program. You can also tweet at us at Chad Benson Show. I want to hear what you have to say. Hey, burglars, when do you want to know when they're around? Well, hopefully never, but maybe, I don't know, before they get in. Ask John. Blake camera alerted him burglars trying to break in his house while he and his family were home. Or Shannon, whose Blink camera caught a thief stealing packages. Both time Blink video clips were sent to the police. Help convict the would-be crooks. Boom. That's amazing. Got some for my son's mom and him. House 4 doors down. Just got ransacked. I don't want that to happen to you or anybody else or them. That's why Blink is amazing. Blink motion activated indoor and outdoor cameras are wire-free. Set up in minutes. Run on 2 AA batteries. So easy. You guys have it's so easy to set up. Those batteries last up to 2 years. Now, here's the other great thing. If you're traveling, Blink's live feed option lets you monitor your home, check in on your pets, which is great because Winston gets up to no good over the weekend. He got up to a little no good. And so all you have to do is check out. You can look at anywhere. They got the Blink smartphone app, no contracts, no subscription, totally affordable, and it works with Alexa. Blink camera systems, incredible gifts, great way to monitor your package deliveries. Visit blinkprotect.com/Benson, blinkprotect.com/Benson, blinkprotect.com/Benson. Blink is an Amazon company. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
A coach can help you get into shape physically and fiscally.
My job is to help them create budget so they can spend their money more wisely, build credit, save, invest.
Ash Exantis is Director of Financial Education at Bank Mobile, a fiscal empowerment coach, if you will. First lesson for many, budgets aren't bad.
A budget is just really you telling your money where to go and do it in such a way where there aren't any surprises at the end of the month.
Extanis says a coach can help you create good money habits, and many banks have them in some capacity.
Yeah, what I loved about him is it's accents, right? Like, we listen to people's accents, and we will judge them on that. Let's be honest. Like, that guy's like, what I try to tell you to do is, you do budgets and stuff. Because when you do budgets and stuff, man, you do some budgets, it's all right. And he could have, it's just, isn't it true? You were making a snap judgment on it. But it's like people talk like this, man. If you talk like this, Uncle, you be the greatest doctor in the world. And people are going to think that Hughes is a moron. But you could talk like this and actually be a moron, and we wouldn't know. Because we're going to judge you on your accent. And you're like, oh, that person's got a great accent. Listen to him. He's got to be smart. He's got to be well educated, isn't he? But if you talk like this, or you talk like this. Financial coaches are great, by the way. Budgeting is great. Having goals are great. And I'm always amazed. So, like, with all the stuff that, like, Jack is, as I'm watching the education system, unfold, in front of your kids' eyes. And I've watched it for years with my family. My family's going through something huge right now with the fight over the two little kids are in school that is driving my family like literally to drink. But one of the things, they don't teach them anything that's like a lot of times like real world. Like they should be teaching them, like goals are such an amazing thing. Just little things along the way of like, let's set some goals up and hit them. They don't. It is just so amazing. And for adults, you go study the habits of people who are very successful and you find out that what do they have? Well, they set goals. They set real goals. They set goals like yearly goals. Some are set monthly, yearly, 5 years, 10 years. People don't do that. And they do it with everything. They do it with finances. They do it with work. And most of us don't. It's not a bad thing to get an outside look into your world. And you find out, too, it's very eye-opening to find out how much money you waste. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. What do you think of the media? Do you trust the media at all? Or do you not trust the media? It's very interesting. Bill Maher says something, as I think he tries to do something where he's trying to talk about the middle of the country, and it comes across so condescending. It does. It does. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
American justice is either going to be vindicated or desecrated. And Michael Cohen has answers to some of the questions that the American people need to know.
Need to know. Richard Blumenthal right there. Yeah, we need to know. But are we going to need to know? Because right now he's getting a grilling, according to several people. Susan Collins says he's absolutely getting a grilling. And these 2 days is when he is going to, so it's 3 days of testimony that he's giving. All the while, Trump is in Hanoi, in Vietnam, getting ready to sit down and talk about trying to get rid of a good portion of the nukes and maybe stabilize a region that at any time is a powder keg because of who's running the country in North Korea and the Korean Peninsula. And all the while this is going on, Cohen's testifying. Today and Thursday behind closed doors. Tomorrow is the show, if you will, the show testimony. And I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen with him, as far as behind closed doors, because how much of that are we going to hear as far as, are we going to get everything? No, because I'm sure some of it's classified. And they're not going to talk about everything. We'll get bits and pieces. The left is going to leak out how horrible and evil he is. The right's going to say he's a liar. You can't trust him. And then tomorrow is going to be all about the people asking the questions, not the person answering them.
I think between us and the Mueller investigation that we're going to find out just about everything there is to find out about these allegations. And so far, there's not much, if anything, to show for it.
No. Because what else does he have to say? He's going to talk about Trump has either less or more money, depending on the day and the taxes, which is, everybody's always trying to find out how they can fool the tax man, right? Am I wrong there? Oh, the tax person. Don't want to insult anybody. Everybody's trying to figure out, how many miles do you drive to work? 10? Are you sure it's 10? Well, it could be 20. Are you sure it's 20? It could be 50. Okay, then. I mean, everybody's trying to find out a little something when it comes to trying to get one over, if you will. But the difference between him or Bezos or anybody else is when you're dealing with billions of dollars, that changes everything. As far as the women, come on. The fact that there's only 2 that seem to be paid out, maybe there's more, I don't know, is pretty damn amazing. Because we've always known who he is. And as far as, him being a racist, do you guys remember Omarosa? Was it like 2 months ago, 3 months ago? We're like, this is it. Oh, I've got it on tape. This shocking thing is going to come out of him dropping the F-bomb and the N-bomb and this bomb and that bomb, and it's all racism and blah, 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 blah. Still waiting. I don't know. A lot of it's showy, and tomorrow will be the big show. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. Oh, and all the while this is going on, you've got to remember there's still this whole declared an emergency thing that looks like potentially he's got some serious issues, because a few Republicans now are starting to slowly but surely say, you know what, I don't know if I'm going to go along with this, and that is not a good thing.
If this declaration of national emergency is upheld by Congress, there are no boundaries under the current law to what the president can do.
That right there is Richard Blumenthal. And echoing that statement, who's a Democrat, is Lisa Murkowski.
We need to be concerned about preserving those clear lanes that are outlined within the Constitution.
Yeah. That clear lanes. And the Constitution, and this is where it gets murky, because remember, over the last umpteen years, slowly but surely, Congress has allowed themselves to become less and less powerful with the power of the purse in a situation like this, because it's broadened these things. It's really kind of broadened this reach for the president. But more and more are starting to say, I got some issues with this. That's Lisa Murkowski, a Republican. John Cornyn, also a Republican.
This isn't really about a constitutional crisis. This is about whether Congress has voluntarily relinquished authority to the president to reprogram money under some certain circumstances.
And the big thing in all of this, right, the big thing in this that I'm hearing from Republicans is not so much whether or not this is a crisis. Because if you look at if you're honest and you look at the numbers are down tremendously from where they were a decade ago, 2 decades ago, as far as people crossing the border and all of this stuff. The big issue here is for Republicans, and the Republicans I've talked to, and we're trying to effort to get one on later on this week, who's not made up his mind yet what he's going to do and vote on this, is the fear of the future. Meaning, if we go along with this, we are now opening up the potential for a Democratic president to declare certain things or a national emergency, guns, climate change, whatever it is. And in doing so, what does that do in the future? And what does that look like if we do something like this, that we're going to lose? We're going to lose a lot. We're going to potentially lose a ton. And this is going to make it so we're becoming less important. And we're now allowing these presidents, whatever side of the aisle are, to take a situation and say, well, this is important to me and this is important to us, so I can do this. And you're going to have each party cheering each other on rather than both parties saying, you can't do that. You cannot do that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Bill Maher, over the weekend or Friday, talked about Amazon, and it was very interesting to listen to him talk about Amazon and the way that he went about it. Because I think what he was trying to do was he was trying to be funny and talk about, hey, you know what? You get all these tax breaks. Maybe you should think about putting things in certain areas. But it ended up coming across as everybody who lives in a place that's not by a big body of water, i.e. an ocean, right? Or Lake Michigan, but by and large an ocean, you guys are all are mouth breathers and knuckle draggers.
And finally, new rule: if Bugsy Siegel could invent Las Vegas out of a desert stopover for GIs, Amazon can turn Nebraska into the next Silicon Valley.
Is that true? I don't know if that's true or not. But he started to go in on some of these things. It was just so amazing, talking about, hey, the people in these red states, you guys don't get it. You're pissed off in the world because these liberal states, California, New York, all of these things, these liberal states have all of the good stuff, and you guys are falling way behind. You don't have art galleries, and you don't have orchestras, and you don't have all of these amazing things and these incredible restaurants, and you're jealous of this, and this is why. This is why you guys want so desperately, are pissed at liberals and pissed at people like, you know, the New Yorks and the Californias, because they have all this stuff. I will tell you this. You're like California, having been out there and hung out there this weekend again. Good. Born and raised in California. It's beautiful. It is. I love California, and yet at the same time I hate it. I want no part of its politics and what it's become. And I will continue to say this over and over again. You move California politics to Iowa, and you know what you have? A place that overnight becomes purple and then eventually red. That's the reality of that. You move that, and that's what you get. You're lucky it's proximity. It's not your ideas are brilliant. It's none of those things. It's the weather. It's the location that gives you the opportunities to do what you do. It's none of the other stuff. It isn't. It's the weather. I'm telling you guys this over and over again. The reason that the middle of the country is redder than elsewhere is because they look and they say, well, this is like normal politics here. This is kind of normal politics. I mean, they have some Republicans. They have some Democrats. Some of it's purple. A lot of it's red. Right? They have some of these things. But it's not so far one-sided that it's ridiculous. You go to the coastal areas, in particular, you go to New York and you go to some of these other places. Florida is different, but Florida's becoming more and more purple. And how vital that is. But you move these politics to other places and you find out how insane it is. But you get away with it in a place like California and the way that they've built things up. But he completely just kind of insults people in the Midwest and these flyover states.
There are two Americas, and it seems like one is where all the cool jobs are, where people drive Teslas and eat artisanal ice cream. We have orchestras and theater districts and world-class shopping. We have Chef Wolfgang Puck. They have Chef Boyardee. Our roofs have solar panels. Theirs have last year's Christmas lights.
White trash and stupid. And then they wonder why everybody's pissed. And they think it's ridiculous. I've lived all over. I've lived in big. I've lived in small. I've lived in the biggest cities. And I've lived in small cities. There's a bit of charm to each and every one of them. There is. But to think that the clamoring of some of these places is that we need all of these things. We need orchestras and we need this and we need that. And this is, otherwise we cease to, we're just really lucky you guys can tell us how to live our lives because we couldn't do it ourselves, is absolutely false. It's ridiculous. It is. But in trying to say, hey, Amazon, you guys should do the right things. Maybe look at some of these other places in putting down roots and maybe turning some of these places, which I think they should do. Man, if I'm Amazon and I have that kind of thing, the thought of moving to Omaha, the thought of moving to some of these smaller states and having the opportunity to have a better quality of life and all of this stuff would be great. I think it's a smart thing. And I understand why Amazon is hesitant, because you got to remember the kind of jobs that you're bringing in, you probably don't have the workforce there. You'd have to move a ton of people there, which is not what you're looking to do. I get that. But it just shows you just how people look at the flyover states, as everybody there is longing to get to these big cities, longing to get to these things because they're just so stupid and so ignorant and so moronic. And if it wasn't for these big cities and big states telling them how to live their lives, that they wouldn't get it. Trying to do something and instead being completely condescending makes me shake my head and say, this is what you miss. Go spend time at some of these places. And you know what's funny is what's starting to happen now is people are moving out of big cities because they want to have a different kind of life. And they're not doing it because they're really longing to have some normalcy. And some of them, people I talk to, it's because it feels like it's kind of the hip thing to do now. Like it's more hipster than it is. I'm really looking for a better quality of life. I'm sick and tired of paying these rents. I'm sick and tired of this stuff. It's just kind of like a hip thing to do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at me. My pillow can be your pillow, but not my pillow, but your pillow through My Pillow. They got a deal right now that's amazing. Got to act fast. Nothing to lose. Money back guarantee going on out till March, but that's not too far away. How do you get these 4 incredible pillows, 2 premium pillows, 2 go anywhere pillows from My Pillow? Simple and easy. You go to mypillow.com, use promo code Benson, BENSON. Best night's sleep? Absolutely. I was completely a skeptic. I'm a skeptic no more. Neither is my family. You guys have to try this. It's incredible. 100% machine washable and dryable, made in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty, and the 4 pillows right now, half the price, free shipping. You got to get on that. 4 pillows, 2 premium pillows, 2 go anywhere pillows, free shipping, half the price. MyPillow.com, mypillow.com, promo code Benson, BENSON. Money back guaranteed till March 2019. Few days away. You've got nothing to lose, but get on it today. Call 800-944-4975 or visit mypillow.com. And when you do, make sure you use the promo code Benson, BENSON. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Serving up talk radio medium rare and dripping with irony. It's Chad Benson.
Researchers are studying ingredients added to food the naked eye can't see. Additives like inorganic phosphate compounds found in cereals, sodas, and packaged snacks.
Inorganic phosphates are added to foods to help preserve color, freshness, taste and texture.
In a study published in the journal Circulation, the team found mice eating diets high in inorganic phosphates turned into, well, couch potatoes.
Oh, no way! Yeah, guess what, guys? Fast food additives equal lazy. Or better yet, just eating junk food equals lazy.
They were less active, ate more food, and their ability to burn fat decreased, according to Dr. Von Penn.
That's suggesting that phosphate additives could actually reduce our fitness and make our body age for 10 years without doing anything wrong other than taking those additives.
Yeah. It goes back to the simple things. I was talking to my little sister about this the other day. People, what's the magic thing as far as losing weight or any of this stuff? It's just being active. If you're active, depression, guess what? The more you run, the more you work out, the better you feel. Why? For a lot of reasons. The endorphins are one. Also, usually because you're starting to stay fit or you're getting fitter, so you feel better about yourself. And if you eat junk food, you're lazy for a lot of reasons. No, I'm sure we're going to look back in 30 or 40 years and say additives, milk, dye, all of this stuff is what? It's not good for you. It's just not. It is not good for you. You know that. I know that. We all know that. Man, talking about not good for you. The amount of news we're going to consume over the next 2 days and the craziness. From Kim and Trump meeting to Cohen, who is getting grilled for the next 3 days and has been continuing to get grilled and over again, to whatever's going to happen that we don't know about. It's just the consumption of what we're going to have probably isn't good for us either. Need more positive stuff coming out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Got a poll question up. Do you believe and do you trust the media? You can tweet at me. You can take the poll at Chad Benson Show. Guys, we're terrible when it comes to our health. Doesn't matter what it is. Knee, back, something worse. You know, we're that kind of people who's like, put a little dirt on it, walk it off, you're going to be fine. There's another thing that we're not good at. Talking about things like ED, erectile dysfunction. Yep. Studies say 70% of guys who experience ED don't get treated for it. Luckily, great group out there, Roman, created an easy way to get checked out by a doctor, get treated for ED online, which is amazing. It's the way the world's going. This is it. One-stop shop, licensed U.S. physicians can diagnose ED and ship medication right to your door. No waiting rooms, no weird face-to-face conversations, no uncomfortable trips to the pharmacy. It is that simple. All you have to do, get online, get checked by a doctor. Erectile dysfunction is a problem, but you can tackle it simple and easy with Roman. That easy. How easy? Get your free online visit. Go to Roman.com/Benson. That's Roman.com/Benson. It's a free online visit. Doesn't get any cheaper than that. GetRoman.com/Benson. GetRoman.com/Benson. Go there. It's free. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Crazy next couple of days, as always. Never seems to be a day off anymore when it comes to politics, the news, and so much more. We'll have some fun. We'll follow it all. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Have a good day. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.